We went to Saginaw, Michigan, just in the last couple of days to get a real sense from what these voters of what they were thinking. We saw the way the polls were trending in recent weeks. This was nowhere near a 15-point race like those polls showed. It was a lot closer, and that was the experience we had on the ground. Specifically, we went to Saginaw. It's about 100 miles northwest. Depending how you drive, you can do it in an hour and a half, right? This is a state, and specifically a part of the state that has been right on in picking political winners. They did Obama twice, Trump. They did Biden and Trump again, which is why we went there. And here's what some of the voters were telling us about specifically what they are looking for in their Senate pick as we still await an official winner. Y'all mind if I join you guys? We're talking Democrats and Republicans, trying to get a better understanding.
We're somewhat disappointed in the Democratic Party as it currently sits. Not to mean we're going to walk away. We're looking for fighters.
I'm independent. I've got history with the Republican and the Democratic Party. But I tend to vote Democrat. The Republicans really don't give you anything to vote for because I have Trump derangement syndrome.
Proudly, you say.
Proudly.
You know, my hope is that the Democrats take both the House and the Senate, or at least one, because we got to put some brakes on this current administration. This dude is reckless.
But what do you say to Democrats who right now are still making up their mind about what matters most in the primary election here in Michigan?
Choose the strongest candidate. And even though the Democrats have a lot of momentum, you still have to choose a person, because Mike Rogers is no joke. He's a strong candidate.
At the end of the day, what is your priority?
Who is going to get there and set the policies that's going to affect my family, my well-being, my community?
We need candidates that are actually going to work for the people and hold integrity when they take office.
Are you satisfied with the way Democrats have handled Donald Trump this second term?
No, not even close.
What do you want to see more of?
A backbone.
Agreed. He's running roughshod and nobody even trying to trip him.
You want someone that's going to fight?
I do.
Hello, whoa! Hi. What do you say to those national Democrats right now? What do you say to Democrats around the country right now who are watching this race closely?
Have faith in their voters, listen to their voters, and consider all aspects, not just big employers and what those dollars look like for them, but what the small businesses and what their decisions are doing are impacting us.
So 1 month in, your advice to anybody looking to start a business right now?
Do it scared. You can absolutely be fearful, but you just fear less.
It seems like there's a message in there for Democrats right now, right?
Absolutely. Move forward with what we know needs to be done and stand 10 toes deep in it.
To you, is this vote about Donald Trump or more about what benefits your life and your community?
It's more about what benefits my community.
A lot of Democrats are just expected to win because they're not Donald Trump. That's a lot of the messaging they have, Look how scary Donald Trump is. It's never for themselves and the good that they can bring.
Yeah, I believe that the old guard is trying to hold on to power, move on. A new group of people wants my kids, the politicians my kids want in the office. They need to move over so they can get in office.
The Democrat Party as a whole is still stuck in 2016. They're still stuck in that mindset. And the Republican Party is rapidly changing. If the Democrats don't try to change their own to fight back, it's going to be a lost cause.
You want to be energized, not just voting for who you think's going to win. You want to vote for who excites you.
And to actually feel like somebody actually cares.
So nice to have those conversations, to let people speak and to hear their voices as they make these decisions. The words we kept hearing over and over, as you saw there, this idea of they wanted a fighter. In many ways, El-Sayed sort of represents, even embodies physically what they want in a fighter. He walks around when he campaigns, often in a T-shirt, sort of looks the part for these folks. Is fighting for things, though, not the big picture national topics as we discuss them, but things that affect them on the ground there. The idea of affordability we heard over and over. Gas prices, $4.30 something as we were driving across the state just a couple of days ago. That's up 13% in just the last week. That is as high as it has been since May right now. I mean, that's a lot of money that people are paying. So that's a big billboard that's going to be a challenge for the Republicans as Mike Rogers tries to regain that seat. And separately, I think what it told us is that these folks, their decisions are being governed by their heart and by their gut, right? It's an emotional, it's a visceral reaction right now. And they don't want to be told the way to vote. They don't want Chuck Schumer to come in and say, do this or the next thing. They want to follow what they want and what they believe is best for their lives and their community.
Donnie, so much of the conversation, again, in this Michigan primary was about left-right. Who's the Democratic socialist, who's left, who's right. But we hear again from voters again and again that it's really top-down, that it's establishment. It's people who've been in government forever, who haven't done anything to make my life better. We want new people in there. We want fighters in there.
Yeah, look, if you're an outsider or somewhat of an outsider and you don't have a track record, you get to come in and say, let's blow this up, let's blow that up, let's blow it up. That's a very enviable position. The problem I have with El-Sayed is, I think in general election, he's going to have a lot of challenges with Rogers. And I also, just on a personal level, the fact that he can't say that Israel has the right to be a Jewish state, I have an issue with that.
Samara, let's get your thoughts on what we saw last night in Michigan, a race that polls have started to suggest might be somewhat a lopsided victory. Very much not. In fact, we haven't been able to call it just yet, although I'll say it is expected. He's the likely nominee is how we're categorizing it. And how what we just heard there from Peter's report might inform that idea. Like why the sampling of voices here there, why do we think that that's where Democrats might be going?
Well, I think we need to look at the exit polls. We have to have the race called to kind of really understand what happened here. The most interesting piece of this to me so far is if you look at Wayne County, Michigan, which is home to both Dearborn and Detroit, that has lots of black voters, minority voters, Arab voters, and it went for Stevens, but narrowly. And so what's interesting about that to me is you have to take into effect in this race, people are divided. The Democratic Party is divided, and even black voters. The jury is out on progressives. And also the amount of money that was spent in this race, specifically on behalf of Stevens, clearly played a role because there was over $50 million in attack ads on Sayed, tying him to attacks on Michelle Obama that he really didn't make in the way that they were insinuating. Also insinuating that Haley Stevens was endorsed by Obama, which was not the case. He didn't get involved in this race. All this is to say it's very clear that black voters were deluged, including members of my family who live in the state, with attack ads. And so all of that played a role. At the end of the day, though, it's obvious, and when you look at your reporting, Peter, it is very clear that voters in Michigan, just like in Brooklyn, are looking for fighters. They're looking for outside candidates. And I do think that Abdul was helped by a trend in the Democratic Party, just an anger toward the establishment. And Abdul has been angry about the Democratic establishment since we were in college at Michigan together. So, whether you dislike him, whether you like him, that is an authentic position that he has taken for about 20 years.